Imagine this. 2 weeks after a hiring sprint, a small startup hears from Payroll. Not good news. A notice of an audit. They hired 9 people and reactivated 2 contractors. Now they're staring at retro tax liabilities and a clause in a vendor contract that wasn't supposed to be triggered. Heart racing, they ask, how did this happen so fast? I'm Dan Butler, and this is Hidden Business Risk. Today, how to restart fast without tripping payroll, contract, IP, or access landmines.
We start with a short scene. Lean in. 2 weeks ago, they celebrated hires. Now the CEO's on the phone. We just got a payroll audit 2 weeks after our rehire, she says. They want records back 3 years. And I think one of our old contractors introduced third-party code when we merged repos. I'm terrified.
That feeling, excitement followed by, oh no, is exactly the setup for the failures we want to prevent. Let's define the common restart failure modes quickly. Payroll classification and retro tax exposure, contract clauses that either merge IP or create penalties on reactivation, and access control failures that leave you exposed when systems are re-enabled.
And from the tech side, I'd add credential sprawl and entitlement creep. When you bring accounts back, forgotten keys, service accounts, or lingering admin privileges can be a huge vector. Not glamorous, but operationally dangerous.
Quick micro case. A contractor was reactivated after a merger. They pushed a patch that pulled in a library subject to a third-party IP clause. The acquirer had a merger clause that considered that inclusion as a breach, and that translated into penalties. Counterintuitive. Someone rejoining the team triggered a contract event, not just an HR headache.
Okay, Nancy from our research, a former payroll auditor we spoke with, ran the numbers for typical retro tax exposures. Jessica Eddy, I'll summarize her findings and then get your take. Nancy says that retro tax liabilities typically fall into 3 buckets: unpaid employee taxes and withholdings, employer-side payroll taxes and penalties, and state unemployment or local assessments. The surprise? Even small hourly errors, multiplied across weeks and several people, add up fast, often to tens of thousands for a small company.
That's right. From a legal perspective, the triggers auditors look for are spotty documentation around job duties, inconsistent classifications between job titles and actual work, and sudden bursts of hiring after a contract-heavy period. If you treat someone as a contractor operationally, they use their own tools, set their own hours, but payroll shows them as an employee, that mismatch is the red flag.
And tech signals matter too. If a contractor suddenly gets persistent admin access, logs show them deploying to production, or they're added to the same repos as employees, that operational footprint can be evidence in an audit or litigation context. Forensic trails are surprisingly revealing.
Nancy also gave a quick back of envelope. A misclassification for a full-time equivalent over a year could generate 3 categories of liability, equal to roughly 1 to 1.8 times the gross wages in worst common scenarios: employer taxes, penalties, and interest. Not to terrify anyone, but to motivate a conservative posture when restarting fast.
Which brings me to legal triage. When you're restarting, you need conservative offer language and a short checklist of questions to bring to counsel. First, a brief disclaimer for listeners. This is not legal or tax advice. Talk to your counsel. But here are 3 exact questions to ask your lawyer right away. 1. Which employment classification tests apply to this role, and what evidence should we gather? 2. If retroactive corrections are necessary, what are likely penalties and timelines in our jurisdictions? 3. Is a 90-day employee probation with withholding an acceptable interim posture while evidence is gathered?
For offer language, use temporary conservative phrasing. Example in plain English. This engagement will begin as a time-limited assignment classified as temporary employee or contractor for 90 days, pending documentation and verification of role duties. During this period, the company reserves the right to withhold taxes and withhold certain access until verification is complete. That tone signals prudence without antagonizing candidates.
Jessica, 2 follow-ups. How do we pilot this without making candidates feel like they're being second-guessed? And what's the blunt fallback if counsel isn't available right when you need to hire?
Great questions. First, pilot empathetically. Tell the candidate this is a standard, brief operational check. Frame it as standard practice to ensure payroll, benefits, and access are set correctly. Provide a short script for hiring managers that explains the 90-day verification window and that it's temporary. Second, if counsel isn't available, default to a conservative posture. Withhold and classify as employee for the first 30 to 90 days while you gather evidence. It's slower, but it drastically reduces immediate legal risk.
From IT, the safe default is least privilege plus staging. Don't flip production access on for a rehire immediately. Instead, create a staged access plan. Read-only first, limited build access second, and full deploy only after a verification milestone. Automate credential rotation so any returned accounts have fresh keys within 48 hours, and make rollback steps explicit. Concretely, 1. Create a temporary identity with an expiration date and no admin rights. 2. Run an entitlement audit mapping what systems that identity touches. 3. Rotate any shared credentials and revoke unused service tokens. After 48 hours, if everything looks right and HR has completed checks, promote access and rotate credentials again. That 2-step rotation avoids long-lived secrets reappearing.
That 48-hour automation case called out in the brief, Eddie, walk us through how you did it in practice. What did automation actually change in the time pressure?
We had a client who needed 6 contractors re-enabled across 3 systems. Manual rotation would have taken a small team several days. We scripted a 3-step automation: provision temporary identities, run a permission snapshot, and rotate service account keys when HR hit verified. The whole loop ran in under 48 hours with a single engineer supervising. Key was a dry run in staging first. We pruned entitlements in a read-only pass, then cut over only after confirming no production impact.
All right, time for triage. We have 120 seconds to name 3 immediate fixes you can run this week and who owns them. Jessica, start us off.
Fix 1. Put a standard conservative offer addendum in your ATS and HR templates today. Owner, HR, or whoever issues offers. If counsel is not immediately available, include the 90-day verification phrasing and a withholding clause.
Fix 2. Create and apply a temporary identity template in your IAM system, owner IT. Make expiration dates non-negotiable and automate entitlement reviews at 48 hours and 7 days.
Fix 3. Run a quick payroll documentation audit. Owner, finance, or payroll lead. Pull classifications, check contracts for merger or IP clauses, and flag any contractor reactivations for a counsel review. Put a named reviewer on each flagged item. Next, the free Restart Checklist walkthrough. Listeners, the one-page checklist on hiddenbusinessrisk.com is designed to let you finish a safe first hire in 7 days. High-level week plan. Day 0-1. Conservative offer with 90-day verification language, temporary payroll setup with withholding, and a named owner for legal review. Day 2-3. IT staging. Provision temporary identity, entitlement snapshot, and rotate shared keys. Day 4. Payroll and HR gather and store supporting documentation. Time cards, scope of work, written statements about control. Day 5. Counsel review or, if not available, maintain conservative posture and withhold. Day 6-7. Promote access after dry run checks, rotate keys again, and finalize classification or plan retro correction with counsel.
Also in the checklist, scripts for hiring managers and candidate-facing language so you can explain the temporary checks without making it adversarial. Pilot the checklist with one hire before full rollout and document the candidate experience so you can refine language.
And technical guardrails in the checklist include staging, a single dry run payroll, and explicit rollback steps. If something breaks in production after access promotion, roll back immediately to the temporary identity and rotate the compromised keys.
Rapid scenarios. 60 seconds, 3 quick exact next steps. Scenario 1. Reboarding a remote contractor. Step 1. Issue a temporary identity with an expiration. Step 2. Require a short task confirmation and a recorded IP assignment acknowledgement. Step 3. Run entitlement review at 48 hours. Scenario 2. Restoring a frozen vendor integration. Step 1. Check the vendor contract for merger or indemnity triggers. Step 2. Run a staging restore and validate there's no third-party code merged.
Step 3, rotate API keys and limit scopes to only required endpoints. Scenario 3, reactivating a paused subscription service. Step 1, verify billing and contract terms about reactivation. Step 2, audit service accounts that will resume activity. Step 3, schedule a read-only dry run and name an owner to monitor for 48 hours.
Before we close, an important reminder and the mitigation checklist. Do not attempt worker reclassification or retroactive payroll changes without consulting payroll/tax counsel. If you think retro corrections might be required, ask counsel the 3 questions I mentioned, and, if needed, run a single dry run payroll under the conservative posture we discussed to quantify exposure without committing to retro payments.
And from IT, when you automate rotations, include read-only audits and a dry run environment. Name the owner for each step and document rollbacks so you don't unintentionally block critical access during a business peak.
Quick recap. Restart fast, but with guardrails. Conservative offer language, a 48-hour technical rotation with staged entitlements, and a payroll check with a named owner. If you want the one-page restart checklist, sample conservative offer and contract snippets, and the premium 30-day sprint workbook, all of that is available at hiddenbusinessrisk.com. We also welcome your questions for future mailbag episodes. The site has the contact form.
One last note. Pilot this process with a single hire before rolling it out broadly. That reduces candidate friction and lets you refine the communication and technical steps. Be conservative, be kind, and get counsel involved early.
And name an owner for each technical action. If you automate something, make sure someone watches the first run. Automation without supervision is how mistakes scale.
Thanks to Jessica and Eddie for practical, specific playbooks. If you want to dive deeper, grab the checklist at hiddenbusinessrisk.com. That is the only place we'll point you for the free deliverables and the premium workbook. We'll be back with more episodes unpacking small decisions that build big risk. Until then, go slow enough to be safe and fast enough to win.